frankly, and I cannot believe I will say that, but the answer will be a massive yes. I would deeply love to one day make a James Bond.
And I wanted it too, and it has come to pass. Greetings, my fellow Bond fans, and of course, like all of us in the Bond community, on Thursday we received some, in my opinion, some of the most amazing news we could have possibly received. We have the director of Bond 26, and it is the legendary director, Denis Villeneuve. And I'm going to tell you right off the bat here, I am super excited about this, and I really want to discuss it and go into this a bit further. So what I thought I'd do, and I thought I'd start off with how I actually discovered the news, because I think it's a bit of an amusing thing. So my little one has had a bit of a cold recently, so she's been getting up in the night a bit, coughing and spluttering, helping her out. And I was just relaxing her, getting her into a sleepy mode again, so to speak. And suddenly I popped on my phone and saw on Instagram the announcement that Denis Villeneuve was going to be the director of Bond 26. And I literally just went from a sleepy to something, hello! That's how excited it got me. And I'm so thrilled about this news. To me, it's just incredible when you think about it. 4 months ago, we announced that Ian was selling all the rights to James Bond to Amazon. Then we got the news that David Heyman and Amy Pascal were going to be the producers. In my opinion, a perfect duo to take Bond into the future. And now we have Denis Villeneuve as the director. I mean, oh my God, how exciting is things right now? It's incredible, everyone. Literally, from having years of no news, suddenly we're getting bang after bang after bang after bang. Heck, we even got the 007 First Light news recently. It's just, the excitement of being a Bond fan is stirring up again so much. It never left, but the fire is being poked. It's so exciting, and there's so much potential still to come. I want to just also mention right here, now, for those of you who have followed me for a long time, you might have known I'm a massive Christopher Nolan fan, and I did want him to be the director for Bond 26. I tell no lie, that's what I really wanted, and that was what I was hoping for. But I'm not going to lie to you. Denis Villeneuve was the ultra razor thin close second. Like, if you were to give a mark out of 10, how much did I want Christopher Nolan to be the next Bond director? 10 out of 10. Denis Villeneuve, 9.9 recurring out of 10. That's how excited I was for the idea of him also directing a James Bond film. And you just have to look at his filmography to really, in my opinion, to fully understand that. What he has done really gets me excited for what he could bring to James Bond. So we start off with, for me, the first two films I ever saw of his, which was Prisoners and Sicario. Very different films together, but you can tell in those films he was an amazing storyteller. And I've said this before many a time. One of the things I really want person making a James Bond film is a great storyteller, and it's in there. And then I went on to watch his film Arrival, which was absolutely amazing. And then, in my opinion, the film that really solidified him to me as like a real auteur mainstream director like Christopher Nolan is Blade Runner 2049. I'm going to hold my hand up here, and I'm going to tell you right now, look, I love Blade Runner. I think it's an amazing sci-fi movie. It's a classic. I am going to, as you will, die on this hill. Blade Runner 2049, Denis Villeneuve's film, in my opinion, is better than the original Blade Runner. You might disagree with me. That's great. That's the subjectivity of film. But for me, it is, in my opinion, done every way better. And it's a much more interesting story, the dynamics, the visual presentation of it. It's just, I think Blade Runner 2049 was an amazing film. And then, of course, after that, he created, in my opinion, the two best films of the recent decade, Dune. Dune is just absolutely amazing. It's awe-inspiring. I love it so much. It's amazing what that series can really bring. And it's so incredible visually to watch and story-wise. And I really want to end on talking about Dune here as another reason why I'm excited about him directing James Bond. Look how faithful he was to the Dune novels. He really was. Yes, he changed a few things here and there to make it work more for a film. But look how faithful and honest he was to that original material. And just thinking, that person is going to now take that moral feeling and bring it to James Bond. Come on, this is amazing. This is absolutely fantastic in my opinion. So let's just wind back here about how I'm reacting to these. As you can probably tell, it is pretty much excitement here, and it really is, because again, when you have talent attached to a project, it only elevates everything. That's just, in my opinion, a fact. So when you've got someone like Denis Villeneuve to be the director, for me, That just excites me no end when you've got this incredible talent with this amazing filmography behind him that can now bring that with a love and passion for James Bond. So adjacent to the announcement of Denis Villeneuve becoming the new director of Bond 26, he released this statement. Some of my earliest movie-going memories are connected to 007. I grew up watching James Bond films with my father, ever since Dr. No with Sean Connery. I'm a die-hard Bond fan. To me, he's sacred territory. I intend to honour the tradition and open the path for many new missions to come. This is a massive responsibility and also incredibly exciting, and for me, a huge honour. So right off the bat there, just to me, there's so much to unpack, and it's someone like that who has that love, that passion that we all do in the Bond community, because we all have that and we all have those stories as well connecting to the Bond franchise, is the person I want to be directing the next James Bond film. I love the story of how he grew up watching them with his father. Like for me, it was with my dad and my grandfather. And I love how he's interested in just honouring tradition, not trying to reinvent the wheel, but just saying, I want to go out and make the most greatest classic James Bond film. And that's, I think, what the franchise needs right now. I've often said many times that Bond 26 is a massive curve and a massive key point in the Bond film history. And for me, what they need to do is almost like the Force Awakens of James Bond movies. Make something new, fresh, but also be very much classic and traditional and not mess around things too much. There's just so much also to unpack here, but there was something else he said right at the end. He intends to open the path for many new missions to come. To me, this signifies very much, though, he has got in mind ahead of this is a film that needs to relaunch a new decade and a new era for James Bond. And heck, maybe even this is him hinting if Bond 26 does well, and he does really well in it, which I have no doubt he will, he might be directing more James Bond films. Heck, he's about to give us a Dune trilogy. Maybe he can give us a James Bond trilogy as well. It's just so exciting for me to hear. The other thing now here also to bring up is he does work with a lot of people currently, like, our very famous Roger Deakins, who obviously was the DP for Skyfall, I think the best looking James Bond movie. Maybe Roger Deakins can come back and do another DPing for Bond 26 and give us another great looking Skyfall-esque Bond movie again. That could be really amazing. And what about actors he's worked with as well in the past repeated, like Oscar Isaac he's worked with, Timothy Chalamet, Jason Momoa, Rebecca Ferguson, Stellan Skarsgård, Hugh Jackman, Paul Dano, Emily Blunt, Benicio del Toro, a already James Bond alumni. Could we see some of these great actors come into the James Bond universe or return in the case of Benicio del Toro? There's so many possibilities here. It really is just so exciting to think about because, again, I mentioned this before. When they made the announcement of Eon selling Bond to Amazon, it opened the floodgates completely wide again to all the different possibilities. And now with Denis Villeneuve being on as the director, it's opened up all the floodgates again about even more possibilities about what the next Bond film could look like. Now, I think the next big thing to discuss, and I think a lot of us Bond fans will be discussing in great detail, is what will his Bond film look like and feel like? And the answer is, honestly, at the right moment, we don't know. I think we can base it off his previous work that it's going to be visually stunning, and I think there's going to be deep, ritual characters, but tone-wise, we just don't know. There's a good old theory within the Bond franchise where you go from milk chocolate to dark chocolate, as they call it, going from a lighter Bond to a dark one. And I think we are overdue a more lighter Bond. And I think this is where Denis Villeneuve's sort of star can come in. Because I think one of the great things about Denis Villeneuve, to me, is, as I mentioned a bit earlier in this video, he is an auteur mainstream director. Like Christopher Nolan and even Ryan Coogler, they can make auteur sort of, really sort of like award-winning-esque films, but really make them in a mainstream action, superhero, that sort of format. It's really incredible. I mean, a bit like James Gunn as well, I'd even add that to that list. People who have a real voice and a real sort of knowledge and do those sort of films, but also make them extremely palatable and make them actually more gel and work so well within a mainstream cinema. And that, again, is the thing I think he will bring to Bond 26 and even maybe potentially beyond. Before I finished recording this video as well, there was a latest new thing that came out from the newsletter Puck about Denis Villeneuve and directing Bond 26. Essentially what we did know was that he is currently filming Dune Messiah at the moment, but they are hiring a writer to which Denis Villeneuve will approve of, to work on his idea and concept while he finishes filming Dune Part 3. And then during post-production of Dune Messiah, and, while he's finishing off that, he'll also be working with this writer to finalise his version of the script. So, based on that first nugget, I think it's very likely now we're looking at a 2027 release date, and I'm okay with that. The clock restarted effectively this year in 2025, so for a Bond film to be sort of really, put into high gear, I think 2027 is realistic here. So I think that's a good timeline of when we should expect the next James Bond film. But also it gave an interesting nugget here, because Denis Villeneuve is used to having final cut on the movies, but he doesn't have it here. So, according to Pug, Villeneuve will not get the final cut on the new James Bond movie. Villeneuve isn't also attached to produce any other Bond television or movie projects that arrive after this movie, though this could easily change if his movie is a hit. So again, I think David Heyman and Amy Pascal are very clearly in charge of the Bond franchise. There's no doubt in my mind about that. And I think Denis Villeneuve will play with them, if you will, very well, and it will actually be a really great collaboration. So let's just basically wait and see. So everyone, that is, if you will, my overall thoughts about Denis Villeneuve becoming the new director for Bond 26. I'm really excited about it. I'm really over the moon about it and happy about it. For me, this is such a close second place, but it's also near joint first of who I wanted to direct a James Bond film. I'm super excited about this, and I can't wait for more news down the line. I really can't wait to find out who's writing with Denis Villeneuve on this, when they're going to start shooting, future cast members. It's all super, super exciting. And you know what? The last thing I'd want, the icing on the cake, is now the acknowledgement of remastered or re-releases of all the old PS2 James Bond video games on PlayStation Plus Premium, and I'm a happy Bondy fan. Till then, everyone, my name's Henry, and I'm going to say I recommend watching all of Denis Villeneuve's movies because they're so fantastic, and let's keep our ears to the ground for more Bond news. Take care.